It is indeed sad to see, but it is something that we have been predicting here for a while. Hollywood has finally turned on Rachel Zegler as she is unable to turn a profit with any box office return she has had so far. Disney is the latest to say, sorry Zegler, but don't come our way. The trades following suit as they are the mouthpieces of the mouse. We'll tell you what is going on with this about face, and we'll do it right now. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to explain Holly weird in a way the other channels simply will not. Doing so is the joy that makes them shout, please stop, but we won't, for it is too much fun to tell you exactly what is going on in Tinseltown today and every day. All right, folks, we only ask that you click the like button as we get underway. It's a sad day for poor Rachel Zegler, the Snow White star, who is now facing a very sad and tiny guitar, violin, maybe, doesn't rhyme, but Zegler not having a good time because Disney is not having a good time with her anymore. Yes, we never heard of her. She has not made any news, no headlines whatsoever, ever. Poor Zegler. All right, so Jonas, I don't know if you've heard, but she's had some dislikes that have landed upon her. And how many are we up to right now? Does anybody know what's her number right now?
It was 500,000 when I checked this morning for one of Valiant's thumbnails.
Yeah, it was over 517 last time I looked.
Let's check this out. We'll refresh a fry just to make sure that we are as fresh and fly as we can be. 123,000 dislikes is the current number. That is in less than 48 hours. It says 2 days ago, but I believe that this came out. We're at about 50 hours. So we're averaging what? 10,000 dislikes an hour. 23,000 likes is how many we have. 5 million views, not yet achieved, but 523,000 dislikes as this heads to be one of the most disliked pieces of media ever. And as a result, the media, Hollywood, the trades, the companies seem to be turning against Disney. Well, not against Disney. No, that would be that would go against the groove. Instead, they're turning against Zegler and telling you that Disney got its groove back. This is by Tatiana Siegel. It's out of Variety. It says Disney got its groove back with Moana 2, but troubled Snow White could halt the momentum. Uh-oh. When Bob Iger returned to the Disney CEO throne at the end of 2022, his first order of business was to dismantle a structure that saw the studio's distribution and creative divisions operating separately. Just so you all know, the setup here from the trades is Bob Iger came in and fixed stuff, although we know that's probably not true, but he came in and he allegedly fixed it. Disney had been for a long time on top and everything had been smooth sailing, says box office analyst Jeff Bach of Exhibitor Relations. And then they ran into some rough waters. And this is Moana sailing away from that and back to the promised land. Now, I've got some thoughts on that, and I think they're counting some chickens, some hay-hays before they're hatched. Don't count those hay-hays before they're hatched now. Be careful, because we're starting to see some wobble in Moana 2. I don't know that it's going to come to anything significant, but we're watching it. It says, though Disney at times has struggled post-COVID across all its divisions. Boy, that's an understatement. In 2023, Disney lost the top spot to Universal by just $80 million, despite releasing 7 fewer movies, and the studio delivered 2 enormous hits this past year with Deadpool and Wolverine and Inside Out 2. Still, Disney began to surrender the narrative with the likes of Peltz and Elon Musk critiquing the studio for pushing liberal values over storytelling. Now, here's where we get to what they want us to know and to believe. It says Moana 2 didn't stray far from the original and didn't spark political outrage. Everybody got that? As long as you don't spark political outrage, everything's good. Looking ahead, analysts believe that a live-action Mufasa and Lilo and Stitch and an animated Zootopia sequel will extend the studio's streak. But one upcoming release, March's live-action Snow White, has been dogged. Dogged, I tell you, not doged. Not doged. They don't like that. And why has it been dogged? Well, let's see. Is it Disney's leadership? Is it the trajectory that the House of Mouse has set for the film? No. It's been dogged by expensive reshoots and controversies related to star Rachel Zegler's social media posts. The actress declined to take down a tweet thread that promoted the $240 million movie with a free Middle East postscript, but did apologize for a blank Donald Trump. And, of course, we believe she was forced to do so. Here's what we've got. It says, we just had an election, and in very rough terms, half of the voters supported one side and half supported the other side. Well, that's a funny way of saying the majority voted one way. Says Guggenheim Securities, Michael Morris, who, again, works for Guggenheim, speaking generally, not about Schertzinger or Zegler specifically. And if I am a company that's trying to connect with the broadest potential audience and I cut that addressable market in half before I even realize the product, I'm really limiting my ability to maximize the value of the product. That's why it's important to entertain first and foremost. I'm sorry. Did Hollywood suddenly decide they were going to begin agreeing with us this year in November? Is this not what we've been saying for 2 years now? That we're not a political channel, but hey, maybe it's a good idea to reach the broadest demographic possible. That maybe Lowe's, Home Depot, and McDonald's, when you walk through the door, they don't say, hey, we're not serving you if you believe this. That's dumb. Now, you'll notice that there's no problem with Disney in this. The issue is Zegler. It's mean old bad old Zegler that's stinking up the place. And it's the same thing if you go over here to Cameron Bonamolo's article on Comic Book. Hi ho, how high can a budget go? Disney's live action Snow White, which stars Rachel Zegler, goes on to talk about a production price tag of $240 million. Now, we believe that's the budget. We don't believe that's the actual production price tag. We believe that's way higher. Exactly. But here's the thing. We're not going to read this article. I'm just going to give you an overview, real quick, Culture, and then you take it off to the races. But they're saying that if the production costs are $240 million, they're recommending that would mean that it needs between $600 and $650 million to break even. And they're saying that's impossible. And I agree, because I look over here again at the trailer and I see 523,000 dislikes, 500,000 dislikes in 2 days. And I say, you're right. It cannot make $600 million. And then I say to myself, well, I think it needs $1 billion to break even for reasons we won't go over again. Culture, I think that the strategy now from the trades is to begin blaming Zegler. Not Disney, not Bob, but Rachel. Will it work, Culture? And do you think it's appropriate?
I think that's their only way, is to scapegoat her. That, and if they want to save face, they need to get the actors involved in this production to allow them to do a day and date release so they can hide just how dismally this thing is going to do in the theaters. You're looking at, by the end of 2023, where this film was easily sitting at over $270 million in its expenditure, and that was at the end of 2023 before they did a full reshoot of this film, and then went crazy with adding little dwarfy guys, which are nightmare fuel.
Right. They've made basically 3 films at this point.
At this point, yeah. And it's rumored that they're about to do a bit more.
Paul, they've thrust Zegler into this position. She was picked out by Steven Spielberg years ago for West Side Story. She's clearly not up to the task. She doesn't understand public relations. She doesn't understand relatability. Do you think that this is really kind of sinister, that now the industry that plucked her up and put her here in a position she should never be is going to bash her over the head on the way out and kick her over to Broadway and say, enough of you. We don't need you anymore on the silver screen?
Well, a couple things. I'm glad they're reshooting Snow White and adding a Red Hulk in it, I believe is
shared assets. That's what it's called.
Yeah, it's they might as well reuse Harrison Ford wherever they can. That's I'm just saying.
He's a real winner lately.
Overall, I have been commenting on how in all deference to Rachel, I have been very critical of the movie studios, specifically Disney, who have been hiding behind their performers, even when they act badly. The woman who was in the Star Wars TV show,
Stenberg.
Stenberg and Moses.
Oh, Moses Ingram.
Moses Ingram. There's this habit of Disney, like, not saying anything on the record themselves, either working through proxies such as these newspapers, these rags, or through Ewan McGregor in a car, or the stars themselves, but you don't hear anything from Disney itself, and that to me is the bigger problem. So yeah, it's fun to bash Rachel, and she's a moron, but independent of that, Disney Corp is still hiding behind their performers and then pushing them out to die on their own, if you want to use that term.
Shadow, is it your assessment, though, that the trades are the mouthpieces of these corporations? And so when the trades turn on Zegler, that means that it's officially time to turn on Zegler?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's my thought.
Well, Lorena, I think that's, I think it's, I can't feel too sorry for Zegler. She makes it difficult. But I do understand that this is a synthetic situation, right? The corporations made this happen. They gave her the opportunity to be a villain, and I don't think she understands how that happened, and I doubt she'll understand or change her ways. I think she'll go to Broadway. This is the article that we've got out on thatparkplace.com. Folks, if you're not yet bookmarked, you should be. It says Hollywood turns on Rachel Zegler as Snow White trailer is flooded with dislikes. I'm going to go down to one paragraph in particular that I've got highlighted that I think is important to read. And here's what it says. When Disney announced Zegler as the lead for their live-action remake of Snow White, the choice was seen as a bold and progressive move by those who wanted Disney to be a socially activist company for the left. Zegler's casting represented a, quote, modern reimagining, unquote, of the classic character, aligning with Disney's ongoing efforts to diversify its princess lineup. By the way, that's harder to do when you start declaring that Moana isn't a princess. If you want to diversify the princess lineup, take your most popular princess who is under your categorization already considered diverse, and then say, oh, well, she's not a princess because she ain't no princess. Yeah, that's a great idea. However, the project has been plagued by controversy from the outset. Critics and audiences have raised questions about the film's direction, substantial budget, creative decisions behind its production. Recent reports suggest that the film may need to gross over $1 billion to break even. Here's my question, Lorena. It seems to me that Disney was all on board with Zegler right up until about 2 weeks ago. And now Zegler's out in the cold because Disney doesn't feel so bold anymore. So do you think that, there's going to be a wake, a ripple effect throughout Hollywood where celebrities say, oh, we're not supposed to say that anymore. Got it. Okay, good. We'll go back to being in the middle.
If they're smart, yes. I'm going to put that word smart in quotes because a lot of actors that I have met and lived amongst have not been very smart. Disney and a lot of companies now, especially with the election that just happened, cold bucket of water saying, look, if you want to make money, you need to shut the heck up with the activist entertainment and just put stuff out there that folks from the center to a little center left, to a little center right will enjoy. Go back to making storytelling that is stellar, that makes money. Do not go out there trying to push some kind of freaking agenda to purposely piss off at least 50% of your base. So hopefully some of them will get it. Hopefully some of these entertainment companies like Disney will put a social media policy in place for everyone, including their actors, and go on from there. They really can't afford to pull this crap anymore. And unfortunately, I won't say unfortunately, because for a lot of actors, they know studios will step back and let you take that bullet full in the face. And that's what's going to happen with Rachel Zegler right now with this situation that she's in, because she doesn't know how to tame her mouth.
Well, obviously, especially when you look at these dislikes. I mean, this is really, really impressive. It's impressive in all the wrong ways, but I mean, 524,000 dislikes this quickly. I think this is
10%.
10%. And it's reassessing, perhaps, right? So the corporations look at this and they say, well, the narrative was supposed to be that this was a small, vocal, ravenous internet group of MAGA nuts. But they can't be when it's 23,000 likes versus 524,000 dislikes. Like, there's nobody supporting her. And Erica, that's really what I'm paying attention to, is there's not an other side to this. I mean, it's minuscule. 23,000 dislikes 23,000 likes is nothing. So she has no fans.
Nope, she doesn't. She opened her mouth and she doesn't know when to stop. She was never taught any discretion in her speech. Think before you speak. Personally, I attribute to the way she is now to her upbringing, because
But
you
wait a
just
minute,
don't wake up one
Erica,
day
hold on a
like
second.
this.
Erica, hold on a second. You're a fashionista, right? You really love the fashion world.
Maybe
Erica,
a little bit.
Zegler. This can't all be Zegler's fault, though, right? I mean, look at this. Erica, look at the designs for the dwarfs and their little onesies.
Yeah, it's a two-part problem. You've got Disney did a horrible job with the content of the movie, and then Zegler just let the cat out of the bag, of what was going to be in it, which already alienated their audience, and then add her mouth to the mix, and this is where we are.
It's a perfect storm of destruction. Go ahead, Vash. I know you had something on that.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, the dwarves and how they were executed was just horrendous. I think the reshoots really pushed them back in terms of the rendering quality for said figures, if you want to call them that. Also, too, the CGI for the most part, as revealed in the trailer, doesn't look all that great. It looks like they might have tried to switch the color grading last minute, because I think a lot of people were complaining about how dull the original trailer.
We talked about they were going to attempt to do that about 2 months ago. So it does appear they've tried to warm it significantly. It was hard to watch in the preview trailer. It was so dark that we laughed, and it was, by the way, that's similar to the Little Mermaid, right? Mm-hmm. The Little Mermaid, the lighting was so poor that you couldn't see what was happening on screen. And with Snow White, it was so dark that we were like, okay, seriously, this looks like Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really interesting choice, especially for something coming out of animation, which really tried to be on the tip of the spear when it came to saturation, especially for a fantasy setting. It was just a very odd blend of things, but because of these reshoots, because of these constant changes that they've had to incur, well, obviously your quality is going to diminish greatly, which is crazy for a film this expensive. The thing about Rachel Zegler and her comments, I think, to your point, Pro, I think they were on board with Zegler up until about 5 minutes ago, because things changed, as was revealed on November 5th. When November 5th, those results came out, it really did, I think, send shockwaves through the entertainment industry, specifically because they had zigged when they should have zagged, and I think that was really most apparent. So now Disney...
Ziglered when they should have Zaglered.
They Ziglered when they should have Zaglered. So now when they've Ziglered, right, it's like, oh no, we are on the wrong end of this scale right here. So they're having to pivot on a dime practically. But I don't think what they've built will allow them to do so.
Vash, you and I are on the same page, because I think we're going to continue to see ourselves saying the same thing because of what happened on November 5th. Because of what happened I think that's going to be a common talking point, because I think it woke up the world to the fact that they weren't actually improving progressive causes. They were causing people to walk away from them.
And the other thing, Culture, the world didn't change in terms of like who believed what and the percentage of people who had worldviews. All that it did is it created the narrative for the corporations that then say, oh, so this is why we're not making money, and we're going to pivot because this is the demonstrable impact that we can use to make claim, here's why we're changing. But like, let's say, for example, because I was not very articulate with that, let's say November 2nd. Nobody's viewpoint dramatically changed from November 2nd to, let's say, November 7th. It was just the narrative was forced to change. And you had to reckon with why they were not finding the money anymore. And it was like, here's the obvious reason, now in front of everyone in the headlines. So now you must pivot. Now you can no longer pretend that, these are just tiny minorities out there that you don't want to embolden because they're hateful, and vicious. Jonas, I want to show you this real quick. Let me bring this up. This is why the thumbnail that you were asking earlier. It was just 2 days ago that there were significant rumors, and this came out the same day as the trailer. So I want people to understand how the game is played. And Shadow, if you want to weigh in as well, there's a game that's often played in Hollywood, and that is the trailer came out on YouTube, same day we get rumors that Zegler is being eyed by the MCU, by Marvel, to take a role there. And I don't know if it's Zegler's people who put that out there because they think they're going to capitalize on the trailer. I don't know if it is authors who manufacture these kind of stories because they want to piggyback on it. And so they know Zegler is a big item to search for. But I think at this point, you can put this to rest. Like the fact that Disney is now, and the trades are now throwing Zegler under the bus, I don't think she's going to be lifting any buses in the MCU anytime soon. What do you think, Jonas?
That's something we talk about quite a bit, and talked about a little bit on That Park Place earlier. The fact that sometimes when you hear about a casting decision, you never know quite who is saying it versus it doesn't necessarily come from Marvel. It might be coming from Rachel Zegler's agent or something like that. They want the idea to be out there that this is so good that they've decided that they've got to get this person for this next role. It's a framing device in order to build hype for what exists already. Like when they say that, oh, in fact, we've got ideas for part 2 and part 3 because what we've got right now is so exciting and so amazing that we couldn't even fit all the things that we wanted to fit into this film. So I'm having trouble believing that anyone with any business sense whatsoever would be going for Rachel Zegler in another production here. When we talk about this dislike ratio, you did talk about a small minority. In fact, there are 7 small minorities that are not represented in this film, of course.
That's
because
well played. That's just, I'm going to give you a raise for that. That's too good. Go ahead.
Oh, all right. That's 2 tiny lasagnas. When we look at something like this, it is corporate product. Nothing about this is artistry. It could be craftsmanship, but it's not artistry. They, of course, would appeal to whatever they think the audience wants is what should be going into this film from their standpoint. They're not talking about the people who were involved in this film that are capable of doing big things. For some reason, Greta Gerwig, who wrote the original screenplay for this, is not being mentioned in the marketing, despite being responsible for one of the biggest hits of the last few years, that being Barbie. They also aren't mentioning Pasek and Paul, who worked on La La Land, and they worked on The Greatest Showman. So they're not going for the musical things that they could be marketing in this film. The fact that it looks like they've changed the color grading based off of screenings and feedback. When you have a $400 million movie that is obviously changed because you can't figure out what's wrong with it, this to me does not show artistic vision. This doesn't show to me that they missed a little bit of what they were going for because they were having a little bit misinterpreted here and there, and they want to make sure the audience fully understands. This to me says that they are hacks and they don't know what they want. They want to guess what you want. But in the middle of this, you have Rachel Zegler going out and making sure that everyone in the audience knows exactly what she thinks of them. So she's the antithesis of what they're wanting for this film, that they just want you to show up, have feelings, and move on. Please buy the soundtrack. Please buy the dolls for your kids. Don't think about it too much. Please visit a Disney park.
Well, you can tell what the narrative is going to be because nobody is blaming Gal Gadot. No blame is going her way. It is 100%.
Hashtag Team Evil Queen. That's what I say.
That's right. There's an opportunity for a sequel if they want to do it. Let her beat Snow White. And so that's one thing.
She did do that video on Twinkies having an excess of chemicals, but I thought that was going to take her down. But
she survived. She survived. Was she part of the when they sang
yes,
song during COVID?
Yes, she was. She was
there. And
yes, and she joked about it.
She apologized for it.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go. Okay, so Gal Gadot can evolve with the times.
Yeah.
Zegler, we shall see. Put this baby to bed. This video is over. Turn off the lights, but not quite yet, folks, because we do ask one final thing before we say goodbye, and that is, would you consider clicking the like button? Share, subscribe, click it and stick it to those algorithms. It is the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. Also greatly appreciated. Anytime you would like to share this out on your favorite social media platforms, well, we would love that. And we'd also love to hear your thoughts. Folks, drop a comment down below and use that beautiful mind of yours. If you would not mind, we'd love to know what you're thinking. Also, if you would like to become a member of the channel, it's as simple as clicking the join button. It is the price of a soda per month, and you'll gain access to all kinds of new, cool, exclusive information. Folks, until the next time, we have the honor of spending time with you. Keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.